Hi, I'm Eileen Bild, and I am with OTEL Talk. And today I have two beautiful ladies as my guests from the book, and we can all hold up our book, Mayhem to Miracles. And we have phenomenal stories, and Kathleen and Laura are just amazing ladies with amazing stories and courage. And I'm going to introduce you to them right now, and then we're going to talk about their contributions to this book. So Kathleen O'Keefe-Kavanos is a co-author of this book, and she taught psychology at USF Fort Myers branch and special education. She's a 3-time breast cancer survivor whose dreams diagnosed her illness. She shared her story on the Dr. Oz show and The Doctors. She is known as the Queen of Dreams. I love that. In her internationally syndicated columns and Dreaming Healing video podcast. Kat is an international author, lecturer, and keynote speaker who promotes patient advocacy and connecting with divine guidance through dreams. And you can find her at KathleenO'KeefeKavanos.com. Hi, welcome, Kathleen.
Thank you. Welcome.
And now Laura Staley, she is the founder of Cherish Your World. Laura passionately supports people by guiding them to holistic transformations of space, heart, and life. Laura writes personal essays focused on self-discovery, feng shui, and emotional health. She's the author of Live Inspired, Let Go Courageously, and Cherish Your World gift book. And you can find Laura at cherishyourworld.com. Welcome, Laura.
Oh, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be with both of you today.
Oh, I'm excited. Yes, I'm excited about this talk because, we all go through life challenges, but the two stories that you ladies have shared, it's, it pulls at the heartstrings and really helps. At least it causes me to be grateful for what we have because it can be lost in a moment's time. And Kathleen, you had everything going for you. Everything was in place, and you were, on cloud 9. And then you get a call out of the blue, and everything fell out from under you. We'll get to that in a minute. And then Laura, you had a family challenge that is almost every mother's worst nightmare come to life and be true. But both of you ladies had the courage and the strength and some deep power that allowed you to process through your experiences. So I want to talk about that and what it took, and any words of wisdom along the way of anybody going through a true devastating life challenge to be inspired that if you can get through it like you have, that anyone else can. So let's start with you, Kathleen. Kind of give us the background of what happened, and then start with, what was that first step of courage that you needed to bring to the surface to face head on what had happened?
Well, thank you, Eileen. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
You're welcome.
This was during COVID. This was during the height of COVID, and everybody was pretty much locked down in their homes. And Peter and I had been pretty much locked down here in Florida for a year. We hadn't been able to go back to our condo in California to check on it, to do anything. For all we knew, the termites had carried it away and there was nothing left. We hadn't been there at all. And so it was a few days after New Year's. We had just bought a new home in Florida. And our friends had come here to Florida to celebrate Christmas with us because there was no Christmas in California. Everything was locked down. So the night I had my tickets, I had the cats had all their shots. I have 2 Siamese fur babies. They had all their shots. I had their tickets ready to fly. We were all ready to go. We were going to leave the next morning. And I said to my husband, I don't know why, but I don't want to go. I want to stay here. I'm just going to stay here with the cats. You go. You fly back with our friends, because we were all flying together. Our friends were all flying with us. I was the only one that was going, no, I don't think I want to be with you guys anymore. No, it wasn't that. There was just this, I don't know, this nagging feeling. I don't know what it was. It was like, it was already done. You're not going, unpack your suitcase. It's not happening. It was like that strong. And my husband looked at me and said, well, okay. I said, you go. Stay there for a couple of weeks, check on the house, play tennis with our friends, do whatever you want to do. I'm going to unpack stuff here and get stuff settled. I'm not going. And he said, all right. So he left, and he left on the 5th. On the morning of the 6th at 5 in the morning here, which is 2 in the morning out in California, my phone starts ringing next to the bed, and I'm looking at it. I'm not recognizing the number, and I'm going, you know what? If this is somebody trying to sell me something, I think I'm going to scream as loud as I can in that phone and make them deaf in that ear. So I picked up the phone and I said, hello. And this voice said, it's me, honey. I'm okay. I'm like, what? Am I dreaming? Wake up. Who is this? Who's this? And it was my husband. He says, it's me. I'm calling on the neighbor's phone because our condo's on fire. I can't get to the phone. And I'm going to call you back in a few minutes. I said, what are you talking about? What do you mean? I said, go hand the phone to somebody else and go do whatever. I could hear the fire trucks coming. I could hear all this commotion. So the phone belonged to our neighbor. He handed the phone to her. She said, Kat, you're not going to believe what happened. Your house just kind of blew up from the garage forward. There's flames coming out of the roof right now. The fire department is coming, and Peter's running around outside in his stocking feet, just his pajama bottoms on, no top. And it's like 30 degrees out here because it was winter in the desert. That's where the military actually trains for Desert Storm, for all of the, mountains and stuff. So I'm going, oh my goodness. I said, he's just running around like that. Where's his phone? She said, I think it's in the bedroom, and I think his wallet's there too. He has nothing. Your whole house is now in flames, and the ceiling just fell in. And the fire department is putting water on all the palm trees so that they don't catch on fire and catch everybody else's condos on fire. So I hung up the phone, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what can I do? What can I do? And I'm thinking, oh, your stuff, all your pictures, all your books, all the stuff from your parents who are deceased, they gave you, it's all going up in flames. And a voice said, help Peter. So I immediately got on the phone and I called every single friend we had in the condo. And I woke them up. They're like, and I said, I told them what was happening. And then my girlfriend calls me back to say that the rest of our roof fell in, and that they were able to actually put the flames out. The flames were out. And all of a sudden she goes, Kat, there's like all these little lights coming across the golf course, all these little lights, and there's little horns beeping. It was the flotilla of all of our friends coming to his rescue. And they brought him shoes, and they brought him shirts and jackets. And they immediately gave him keys to their condos that they'd been renting out so that he had a place to stay. And long story short, yes, we lost everything. My brand new car had caught on fire in the garage and blew up. Our bedroom was right next to the garage, so it blew up. We had these screens on our windows in our bedroom so that the golf balls couldn't break the glass. We wouldn't have been able to get out. I probably would have died. The cats would have died. But what happened was at 2 a.m, Peter woke up because he couldn't sleep anymore. And so we went into the living room and turned on the TV. And when the fire alarms went off, he's like, oh, great. The batteries are gone and the fire alarms, they're all going off at the same time. You know, that happens. Or some spider got in there. And he went and looked in the hallway, and there was all this smoke coming down the hallway from the garage. And that's when the garage blew up. And so I tell people, And they say, well, you lost everything. I said, yeah, but at some point, I'm, I must have looked into my closets that were packed full of clothing and said, God, help me sort through this stuff. And he heard me, and boom, done.
There you
It's
go.
all gone.
Not quite in the way you were thinking, right? But I will
No.
say, it sounds like there was definitely a miracle in the making of the unfolding of the fact that you had that intuitive voice say, stay home, and then Peter waking up and doing what he did. That there was, I would like to say, a divine hand in orchestrating, saving your
And you
lives.
talk about divine hands. When they finally let him back into the house, he's like, I got to get my phone. I've got to get my wallet. I have to see where they are. I got to see if I can get anything. It was like the angels had reached down and put their hands around his phone and his wallet. Everything else in the bedroom, the bed had caught on fire. Everything else was burned up except his phone and his wallet on the nightstand.
That's truly amazing. So I want to ask a quick question, and then I want to get to Laura, and then we'll come back to you with some more questions. But my quick question is, how long did it take you? And to this day, do you still have, some flashbacks, but how long did it take you to realize and recognize, wow, I'm alive?
Almost immediately. Almost immediately. When Peter said something caught on fire in the garage, we don't know what it is. It was only my car, the hot water heater, and the golf cart. The golf cart wasn't plugged in. I think it might have been my new car because the batteries in the new fire department wouldn't prove it because there were no deaths, so you didn't really want to get involved. I think it caught on fire and blew up, and the gas tanks blew up. And when they did, they took out the bedroom first, like a bomb, and then just swept through the house.
Wow. Well, we are grateful that everybody survived and is alive today to tell the story. So thank you for sharing that. And I think it gives me the comfort of knowing that if we pay attention to those little nudges and those voices, that there's a reason behind it. So Laura, yes. Hi, Laura. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. So your story is dealing with the attempted suicide of your son and finding the miracle and the mayhem, fighting for his life. So start where you would like to in that experience and the courage that you had to move through the different parts of that struggle.
Absolutely. Well, this anchors me, so I'll just start with, I love you, son. And to let your listeners know that the miracle is that he is alive and he's flourishing. And for that, I am utterly grateful. So kind of the background context, as there's always a context in which these things play out. In that autumn, when on the day that I drove my daughter off to college and my son was with us, their dad did not come because then things had gone down that morning, that it was finally that final straw that broke open the marriage. And I pretty sure I had anticipated that. And the interesting thing is my son being so intuitive and very emotionally intelligent, even at 4 years old, I'm like the holder of all these stories about my son, which served me very well in this experience. Is that he knew even at 9 years old that things were off in the marriage. And I remember distinctly him saying, are you guys gonna make it? You're arguing so much. Mm-hmm. And at the time I was like, we were working with a therapist, and I said, we're smart people. I think we'll figure this out. Well, fast forward, now he's a teenager. His dad has left the home. I've asked him not to return, and his sister is going off to college. He's close to both of them. Let me be really clear about that. So from his point of view, he's now lost daily contact with his dad and daily contact with his sister. Mm-hmm. So, and there are other things going on in his angsty teenage life, right, that I kind of knew about and I kind of didn't know about, but I had been tracking, different things, these qualities about my son and some of his struggles and his good character in many ways all along. And that really did serve us. So we come and then go a few weeks forward. And oh my gosh, here I am getting these text messages. It's the afternoon, and everybody's texting me, my daughter, their dad, and we're getting these notices from my son that he wants to kill himself. Mm-hmm. And of course, then I go to find him, and I spot him on the roof. He throws the ladder off the roof. I immediately, get in the eye of the storm. I'm calling 911. They come, 7 emergency vehicles. It's very intense. And yet I had the courage in that moment to respond from that place of my deepest commitment to the life of my son. And thank God for those first responders. I'm grateful to this day. Mm-hmm. So, he's taken to a psychiatric facility, and we began this, very involved process of working with my son and supporting his life. And mind you, I'm also navigating a contested divorce, kind of grieving the empty nest of my daughter off in college, and the struggles with my son. So it was a really, not to, mince words, but it was a very, very challenging time. And so I absolutely had to muster the courage. And I think a lot of it came from this declaration that just kind of downloaded inside of me, 2 of them actually. My son's thriving life, because that was like the end, the end game. Like I wanted him to have a thriving life, whatever looked like for him. And it became this anchor in my mama's soul. And my single, happy, free Laura Staley. So these 2 visions, Eileen, really anchored me and allowed me to take feels like 1,000 first times. First time walking in a courtroom, first time walking in a ER, first time calling police. I mean, oh my gosh, and it's the kind of thing that until it happens to you, you think these things are so far away, and the depth of compassion that I have for any family that's going through this kind of struggle is immense, because when you live it yourself, wow, just you have no idea how tough this experience can be, and when your child's life is in the balance, it's terrifying, and yet I found that courage and wisdom to not just say, I love you. So by the way, he was living full time with me, because his dad, even though he said to me, Mom, I want to split time with both of you, his dad's living situation didn't allow for that. So he was in my full-time care, and I was doing my very best to navigate this with the full-time care. And so I was able to hear him. A lot of times we say, tell people that you love them. But what I would offer is hear the pain, be able to have the bandwidth to hear another human being's pain. And I saw it, and I heard it, and I felt it. I did take, certainly after he was in the psychiatric facility for sure then, but even before then, I was calling for, different therapists and working with him to see if he would be willing to go and work with somebody, but definitely after he was hospitalized, right? We had to have a plan going forward. And so I would say, listen to that, be able to listen to somebody and know it's not personal to you. It's their internal world. I had my own internal world to deal with. That was enough. Right. And then, to heal, to hear him, to hear another human being, the pain, but then to see his beautiful soul and be the holder of all those fabulous stories that are still in my heart to this day. I mean, I could tell you cute things he did when he was 3 and 4, and then letters went to him and his therapist once we were able to get him in the care that he needed. And eventually his dad and I aligned, thank goodness, on a plan for his more long-term care. And like I said, he's flourishing to this day. But I think it was having that vision of that possibility. And trust me, I played out the thought that he wouldn't make it. I did. And I tell people who have lost a person that I cannot imagine it. And I've only put my big toe in that pool of water, because honestly, that's all I did. I stuck a big toe in and I pulled it right out, because he actually made it through. The other thing I would say that came in a letter, and then there was another beautiful letter, and that's at the end of the story in the book, from him, that was so beautiful, basically saying, "Mom, you showed up for me." And I did. I really did. In his darkest times and in his struggle, I did. And sometimes it is just the matter of showing up, knowing it's not your fault. So yeah, I lost track of the other thing that I was going to say. So sorry.
That's okay. It'll come up. There's a lot of emotion, attached to your story.
There's a lot. There's a lot of layers to the story, for sure.
Yes, and I'm sure every time you tell it, more comes through, and it's part of your healing process. But what came to mind for me as I listened to both of your stories is both of you had tremendous support systems as the beginning part of it and throughout, and you were also the support system for the others that were involved. And both of your situations were like in the moment shock, because all I could think of was, if I got that call at 2 a.m, I'd go into like overdrive shock, and then trying to clear my mind to know next steps. And Kathleen, you corralled people to be able to be there for your husband ASAP. And Laura, you did the exact same thing. So what I see, and I'm a big picture person, and what I love about this, being able for both of you to tell your different stories, but I see a common thread, which is that we're all in this life together, that we all have our parallel stories and experiences, but yet they have the same components of the kind of magical, miraculous, miracle event that takes place that brings us through and to the other side. And I believe that, we're all sitting here together for a reason, that it's not by a coincidence that this book was put together. These stories are all together in the book. And I encourage people to read every story, because they're so empowering. And for you ladies to be sitting today on my show and other shows to share, what could have been some really tragic outcomes, and inspire others to know that with that courage, with that strength, we can overcome. So Kathleen, kind of expand on that. Tell me what your thoughts are on that idea that we're all connected and somehow all these stories are intertwined together.
Well, we all found each other for Mayhem to Miracles, but Laura also has another story. Was it in Crappy to Happy, Laura? That was the first one. So actually her story is a bit like the onion where you unpeel the layers. Well, the second book here, Mayhem to Miracles, was the unpeeling of the last layers. So you get a little bit of sense of what was going on. And Crappy to Happy with her story with her son, which was an amazing story also. And we are all connected through universal oneness. If you think of the whole world as a great big ocean of gnosis, ocean of knowledge, we're the pebbles. And every time we tell a story and our story goes into that ocean of gnosis, those rings start to intersect and our stories start to intersect. And like you said, we start seeing that storyline that connects all of us, which is humanity. Humanity is always in some form of mayhem. If you think about it, since the time we were born, we were in mayhem.
Yeah.
But and many of us still are in mayhem, especially going through COVID. But you can come through that mayhem into the light, into the miracle. And that's what all the stories in this book and all the other books, because that thread runs through every single book. That thread is, yes, we're in mayhem, but the mayhem is the fertile ground. It's that crisis, that's that chaos, which is the fertile soil that grows our miracles. And although the sun helps our miracles grow, so does the rain. We couldn't bask in the sunshine all the time without a little rain, and rain is beautiful. It brings a rainbow. And so the miracles in these books are really the shining star, because everybody can stay stuck in their mayhem. But how do you get into the miracle? How do you find the miracle? And I always know when I'm hitting the right notes, because my phone will turn itself on and start talking to me from nothing. The other day, Google turned on in the other room and just started chattering to me. So I know that universal oneness, all the spirits are going,
yes. I'm with you on that. And I think also, the message in today's talk with the three of us is that we're not alone. And if anybody's watching this and the other interviews that everybody's giving, that there's opportunity to reach out, and I would hope that if someone wants to talk to you more, Laura, about your story, you're more than open. And Kathleen, if anyone's gone through a tragedy with a fire, and how you remain strong, because I think a lot of people they hold on to the past, and it's difficult for them to be able to move forward and thrive. And I know both of you have the tools, and you're able to take that past and do the healing that's necessary, which could be lifelong. And like you said, Kathleen, if we peel those layers, but we can be a strength for somebody else if they so need it. And so with that said, Laura, what kind of strengthening message or comment would you like to make based on what Kathleen just shared?
Yeah, I love that idea that we're all connected, because I think sometimes it takes such an intense tragedy to reach out with that vulnerability. And much like Kathleen, because I love that part of your story where, hear the lights of the, the golf carts and all the people showing up for your husband. And I get so moved by that, right? And my parallel was my best friend, kind of, I don't even remember calling her, but I must have called her, right? And she and another friend were like standing right there on the flat roof, looking, being right by my side, and at the hospital. And the friend who showed up, dropped everything, came to the hospital. The friend I called when I really, really thought that he, like this time he was gone, could I come over there? So community shows, to be able to have the courage and the vulnerability to reach out when it's hard is so strengthening, because people want to give. They have compassion. They might not have lived through a fire or had their child, in the ER having just attempted suicide. But the people that love you and love your family, they'll show up for you. And I know this, and it is absolutely what saw me through. And I know in the written version of the story, I don't point to that outer layer as much as I wish I could have, but I can speak to it right now, and because we are so connected. And as Kathleen was saying, so much of life, it's this flow, right? There are these, happy moments, and then even in a day, right, you can have a hard moment and then a happy moment and a hard, and it's just kind of like this ebb and flow, and to bear witness to one another and be there and to hear the pain and see the beauty. Right? Be the holder of the both and, a lot of people, with soft hands, that capacity to see two contradictory things. Like, how could this young man, my son, be this like straight A student, testing, gifted and talented, on the cross country team, winning awards, blah, 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 have this internal pain and the suicidal ideation and the suicidal depression, right? And it's like holding two truths, and both were true, right? And so that capacity that each of us can cultivate inside our hearts to hold that for ourselves, first of all, because I had to do that for myself, right? I had to have compassion for myself. It's the nurse holding me and saying, it's not your fault. Right? And I'm able to go, wow, right, no, his choice and his internal world is his. And yet to have that calming, compassionate voice say to me out loud, it's not your fault. Because a lot of parents, at some point or another, they go, how did I contribute? And, the truth is the angst in the marriage did contribute to my son's pain. I can't deny that. And I get to forgive myself. Right. So I think it's, that capacity that each of us have as human beings to have that strength to hold like all of it, if you will, two contradictory, seemingly incompatible ideas at the same time for another human being, for ourselves, and then our community, because sometimes you never know the thoughts and the emotional reality of another human being. They may show up, like I said, like my son, the straight A student, cross country team, he's loved by his friends, going along. And yet, I knew the hard things that had happened too, and was tracking them as best I could, right? And I didn't know all the choices he was making until later. But I think that would be the biggest message I would say about that strength, is to shift away from the judgment and criticism of looking at outside a situation, rather than blame Kathleen for, why did you have that car? Why did you buy that car? But instead have the compassion and go, wow, that could have been me. That could be my car blowing up. And how can I be of support to these people that I care about? Or maybe they're complete strangers that I haven't even met before, but how can I show up for them? Because, the EMT, a year after this happened, I walked with I didn't know who those men were, sorry. But I walked with a vase of flowers to the station that I knew all the 7 emergency vehicles had come out of, with this long gratitude note of, you saved my son's life. And I just wanted you to know that I'm grateful for the actions that you took so rapidly on his behalf. And so it's even like that, because it's like I'm in this community, and they were complete strangers, the strangers in the hospital. I did the same thing in the ER psych ward. I took a vase of flowers to honor everybody, including that woman who I don't even remember her name, right? Who held me in such compassion, to thank her for saving my son's life and taking the actions and being so kind to me.
Well,
And she was a complete stranger. She had never met me. I knew nothing about her life, Eileen. And yet she had the love inside of her to hold this strange woman who's like freaking out. Because at that point, I really was kind of, imploding a little bit. I was crying, I was sobbing, and she just put her arms around me and held me and said those calming words. So the more that we're able to do that for one another, see one another in the pain and in the beauty. Wow, what healing can take place on the planet, right?
Right. Well, it's the show of compassion, unconditional love that is priceless and so meaningful and purposeful in its own way, that a person who went through what you were going through, it's all that's needed, and that's what helped get you through.
Yeah, it was my friends who never once judged me for having a suicidal son.
Right. And that's
they never came at me like, what's that about?
Right.
Like seriously, they didn't get up in the morning going, oh boy, I got an ear for Miss Laura Staley. Get her straightened out right now,
Well,
for her parenting skills, right? And because here I was, I had my struggles, but feeling like I wasn't a perfect parent, but oh my gosh, right?
Well, it sounds like they honored that space that you were in and didn't question where that came from for him to take that step. And instead they were there to support you.
Yeah. And unconditional love is just, wow. I hear you, I see you, I value you, even as you are making just terrifying choices.
Right.
That could take your life.
Yeah. And I think, both of you can agree with me that unconditional love is infinite. If we sit in that quiet space, we can see it, feel it, taste it, hear it. But we sometimes forget it's there. And then when people show up in a tragedy or a tragic situation, we're reminded of that. And that leads me, and thank you for sharing that heartfelt story.
You did a great job, Laura.
I know, you almost had me crying. I almost cried. But Kathleen, that leads me, I thought that was coming to mind, actually, for both of you, but I want to start with you, Kathleen. How did that experience change your relationship with your husband? And how has that sustained itself since that night where you realized that could have taken your life, it could have taken his life and your cat's, but because you paid attention to the voice in the head and your husband followed along with his guidance, you've come through it. So I want to know, what has that done for your relationship?
Well, it's done wonders for my relationship. And our relationship was always strong to begin with, but now that really cemented it. I mean, there aren't that many people who could. I'm pretty much staying here in Florida right now while he's rebuilding the condo out there and living in the condo that our friends have rented in, which the insurance company is paying for. So, it all worked out, but I'm here, he's there, and we see each other every now and then, but our relationship is so strong that we can sustain just about anything. But going back to, what Laura was talking about, the pain and the beauty, seeing the pain and the beauty, the pain of losing everything that was my stuff, yet seeing the beauty of, okay, the past is gone. Now I can start again with the future. I still have my husband. I still have my cats. Everything's good. We have us. Yeah, that stuff's gone. It's okay. You know, what it reminds me of, and it shows us just how strong and smart Laura is. Einstein says that true intelligence is when you can hold two opposing thoughts in your mind at the same time. And so, you know, it shows you, Laura, if it weren't for you being your son's mother, I'm not sure that he would have survived, because you're such an intelligent woman to be able to hold both aspects of both the pain, the horrible pain, and the beauty of it. So yes, our relationship is very strong. And I'm happy to say our cats are happy here in Florida, and they'll be happy when they go back to California. They love it out there too. And so everything is good. Everything will be new. Everything will be painted. Life is good.
So it's almost like a new beginning.
A new beginning. And I think it shows us how not only are we all connected through, you know, quantum spirituality, but also quantum entanglement, because my story with its beauty and its pain has entanglement in Laura's story of beauty and pain, and all the other stories of beauty and pain in this book. And it just goes to show you that we all have spirit guides and guardian angels. We're their job, and they take that job really seriously. And like Laura's guardian angels, I think mine have to pick, you know, sticks every morning to see who's got the short stick. That's the motto we make for the day. Who knows what's going to blow up with her next?
Yeah, well, that could be true. Sometimes I have an experience and I look at the sky and I just laugh or shake my head and say, really? You know. So for Laura, one last words of wisdom of, you know, how your relationship with your son is now and how this has changed it and enhanced it or improved it.
Oh, wow. One thing for sure, I no longer stand in judgment of my son. So for instance, I remember feeling really kind of angsty about tattoos. And of course, he's gotten several gorgeous tattoos. And I recognized that I couldn't do it. I guess I'll never say never, because who knows? You know, I don't know. And for years from now, I may have a tat. But, you know, we had an experience where he came to visit here in the mountains, and we've had some really beautiful phone calls. These letters that I received were so meaningful. He made some amends with me, and, you know, just as becoming just a beautiful human being, even as he, you know, sorts out, you know, difficulties. He left a job, you know, but good on him, because he recognized it wasn't a good fit. He's fallen in love, and I have too. So we kind of have these parallel universes. But he didn't want to lie to me anymore. And somehow I made some flip comment about, you know, cigarette smoke and some judgmental thing. And he looked at me and he goes, well, Mom, you realize I vape. And I would, you know, and ladies, I had a moment, right? and after all that we had been through, right? And I just sat with myself and watched all the thoughts, right? All the, his health, doesn't he know it could kill him? You know, haven't we already been down this path? You know, and I just sat with myself and watched all of that. And he was sitting next to me in the car, and I was silent. And all I said to him was, thank you for not doing that behavior while you've been visiting me here in North Carolina. And then I changed the subject. And the next time we talked on the phone after he had gone back to where he lives, he said, Mom, I wanted you to know that I have stopped vaping. And I also want you to know that the fact that you didn't judge me contributed immensely to that decision.
That's awesome. Wow. That was awesome. Good job, Mom.
I know, right? Just a very specific example of what has absolutely shifted because I know he's smart, and I know he wants to live. I know that in my bones. And so if he happens to make one of these choices along the way, right, I also know that he'll figure it out. He will.
Well, it sounds like you guys have that mutual respect now.
Oh,
and you are
immense. Yeah, immense mutual respect. Absolutely. And he knows how deeply I unconditionally love him, with no expectations or agenda. I don't come at him, you got to see me on Mother's Day. You got to call me on my birthday. I'm like, nope. I actually asked him, and he said, you know what, Mom? I don't want to call you every Sunday. I was like, cool, great. I'll write you letters. I'm like, I'll text you every now and then and send you a pretty picture from the mountains and just be like, I love you. I'm thinking about you. Right. Yeah. And he did FaceTime me with his lady love 2 days ago, and I was thrilled because I was not expecting it.
That's awesome.
But then he did it because he wanted to do it. Yay!
Right. Yay! Well, ladies, thank you so much. This has been awesome and amazing, and I love your stories. And so as we close out, Kathleen, let people know again where they can find you.
You can find me on my website, The Queen of Dreams. Just type that into Google and it'll come right up. Or my name, Kathleen O'Keefe, Okeefe, Cannabis, Kana, V as in Victor, OS, just like the cannabis you smoke, but with a K. And you can always watch me on my radio show, which is Dreaming Healing on Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, every Tuesday, first and third Tuesday of the month at 9 p.m. Just Google me and you can go there and watch me.
Sounds awesome. And Laura, where can people find you?
They can find me at cherishyourworld.com. I'm also active on Facebook and LinkedIn, so they can reach out at those places.
Great. And we can hold our book up one more time and say that people can find this book on Amazon. It is a #1 bestseller. And we look forward to future chats again and the continued interconnectedness that we all have. And I look forward to doing this in the future, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye-bye.